What a game. It was intense, it was entertaining, maybe even mad sometimes. How did you say it yourself?
Yeah, roller coaster. Huh? So we were fantastic until we were rubbish, and then we were good again. So that's it, and that's why we won 4-2. You could see in the faces where we didn't control it anymore. You could just see how good Tottenham can be, and but for the majority of the game, we just controlled it in an extreme good way. And played really good stuff ourselves, scored incredible goals, wonderful goals. It was a really good game. Besides, yes, we struggled slightly. I made the changes. Look, that's my job, to make the changes, and then you see, oh, it's not getting better now. So would I do it exactly the same again? It's not about the boys. It's just like the rhythm. You saw Stefan Bacicic. He looks in training. He needs that. Didn't play for 8 months, so or whatever. And I'm pretty sure he felt in a moment like he sits on a bicycle on a motorway or something like that. So, and it's fine. He has to get through this, and that's all important experiences and you can make. And so I'm absolutely happy. Yeah, I don't like the goals we conceded. They had more chances. We had more chances. So, how is that? Mad game in moments. But all good. We won it and fine.
Well, you said that these are the last 3 games you want to see your team perform, and this is the first time, of course, out of these 3. So how pleased overall we can say? Forget about maybe you said there might be time they were rubbish, but like actually they played really well overall.
No, the boys played a really good game, but we lost our organization in that moment. So they were everywhere, and that means in football nowhere, and that's the problem. So no, it was a really good game. But when you are 4-0 up, you could win this game to get 6-7. If we are 100% honest, against a really good side. But now it's 4-2, and that's completely fine. It's a little bit, it mirrors a little bit the season. We can be outstanding, and then not. It's all good, really. Look, we played an opponent today. I don't know. I think Aston Villa lost, all right? So if they win today, they're 4 points behind Aston Villa. They can chase them. They can chase Champions League, stuff like this. So they had the real reason to go. We had, because of that result before the game, saved third. So you need, in sports like that, on that level, you need to find your spark. Why you do the extra yard. And the boys found it, and I love that. I really love that. And then after 4-0, they probably thought, a warm day in Liverpool, we are all not used to that. That's it. Let's bring it over the line. And in that moment, Tottenham came back, and that's it. That's really no problem today, obviously. So it's absolutely fine. We won the game, and I'm very happy.
Still time to think, but Anfield was special tonight. How much did you enjoy it, and how much will you miss this place?
How much I will miss it, I don't know. You feel that when you are not here anymore, but I enjoyed it a lot, that's true. Yeah, outstanding place, outstanding atmosphere. Yeah, Wolves will be tricky. Yeah? So from that point of view, let's see how we get through this. But now first, again, boys, a couple of days off. That's very important because pretty much all of them play either Euros or Copa. So it's super. Let's go away, whatever, and come back, and then we prepare. Enough time to prepare Aston Villa. Good. And then we play against Wolves. That's it.
Much appreciated.
Jurgen, your penultimate home game as Liverpool manager. Sun was shining, crowd were in good voice, and did we see a proper Liverpool performance?
What do you mean by that?
Let's not do this.
Sounds like an offense. Yeah, you're right. It was a bit what we are outstanding until we are not, but then we find a way again. So it was a really good game. Look, let's tell the story of the whole situation is Aston Villa lose before. Tottenham can, if they win, can put pressure on Aston Villa again to fight for the Champions League. With the same result, we are safe third. So in high performance things, you need a reason, you need a spark to why go for it. I would say it's enough to go for 3 points, but you never know. And the boys showed today it's enough to go for 3 points, to make this place a special place. And Anfield was a special place today again, because the boys played outstanding until we didn't. But it was 4-0 up. I made the changes. We lost organization definitely in that moment, concede the goals. And yeah, then you could see how good Tottenham could be if we would have led them before, but we didn't. And then we came back in the game, and that's fine. We could score the 5th and the 6th or whatever, and it's absolutely fine. I'm absolutely happy with the performance. The boys were really, really good. I really thought they showed how much they love football, and that's a really important message.
In terms of performance, how much of a step up did that feel from the last couple of weeks?
In front of the goal, massively. But we were good. We were good in pretty much all areas offensively. The movements were right. We were calm on the ball. The passes were right. Rhythm was good. So many things were really good. So, you saw at the very beginning, like when Tottenham started playing, you saw, hey, that's tricky.
Good first 10, yeah.
It's tricky. With little passes, you try to. But we stayed calm. We knew that happens. As long as they don't break the line, it's all fine. Let them pass. Then if we can force the next one back, that's it. That's what they do. We win one of them, and we end up in front of their goal. So that's the idea. And from that moment on, momentum changed, and that was the moment we started controlling the game. So with lesser possession in them, but that's an unnecessary possession pretty much. I liked our game a lot, to be honest. And then finishing, obviously the goals were outstanding, and everybody involved in all offensive things, and everybody's involved in that, was really, really good.
So many individuals we could pick out, but how sharp did Mo look today?
Yeah, it was outstanding. Mo played a really, really good game. This side with Harvey together was extremely strong, and we are really happy for him that he could play the way he played today. It's just important for the boys. None of the boys, not that now more or whatever, or another one, wants to play. Not great. Why would they? Yeah. So then you have to find a way back, and Mo found it. It's absolutely outstanding. You can see what he's capable of.
Any part of you sort of stood there now thinking, if only we could have done that a couple of weeks ago?
Oh, I'm too old for that. For this kind of thinking, I'm too old. That doesn't work. So I know it doesn't work, so why should I think it? No, I know world is probably like that. I'm not part of that group. No, you do it when you do it, and if you miss it, then you miss it. But still bring it over the line in the best possible way. Somebody told me before the game, if we win all 3, we can achieve the 5th highest points tally of all this great Liverpool sides who were here. Well, is that the real reason for everybody? I don't know. For me, it is. So let's try it. We will try.
For you today, it's a penultimate home game, so I can't keep doing that.
That's great. Love it.
Is it starting to get emotional for you, or are you still business mode?
No. I would be alive. I'm now completely would say I'm the highest level, and bam, I want to do this and that. I cannot pretend like that. But I was not emotional today because I now have another one. So that's how it is. I know that Wolves will be tricky. It will be a tricky day. I don't know how we thought that, but it's in 2 weeks' time. Why should I worry today? For now, it's good. I don't have to say it all the time. I love absolutely everything about this club, but yeah. We will see how that day will be. Maybe we are lucky and it's pouring down like crazy, so we cannot stay outside after the game.
Might hide some tears as well, right?
Yeah, wouldn't see that on top of that, so let's see. There's a good chance that it will pouring down, by the way. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
As well, that in football, you know, either as a manager or a player, you know when the end is coming. You don't only get to choose.
Yeah, which can be difficult. But I think if they can win the next couple of games, that'll make it a little bit easier. Again, I mentioned earlier, it's kind of a disappointing end of the season for them. But if you step back, and we have to do sometimes, look at the bigger picture, what he's done for this football club, then it is fantastic. We talk about the type of football he's played. It's been very entertaining. He's given young players a chance. They're back competing at the highest level. He's won some of the biggest prizes. And Kai, we see that on the sideline with him. We see him in his interviews. He's a very honest manager. He doesn't play. I don't think he plays too many games. He's not like this robot after games where he's almost just media trained. Seems a very honest manager, and managing a big club is obviously very draining. So enjoy his break. He's been an amazing manager. I hope he does get a couple of decent results over the last few weeks. I can say that now because I know they're not going to win the league title. I might have been saying that a few weeks ago. But to leave on a bit of a high, they've won a trophy this year. They're back in the Champions League. It's not a complete kind of disaster for them in that sense. and enjoy your break. And I'm sure he'll be back at a big club next year and the year after.
It's interesting that the choice of words that he used to describe him as a manager being emotional. He's used those words himself this week. A manager that skills are about the emotion, the energy he puts into his performances on the sideline, the work he does in the training ground with the players as well, and it's delivered trophies. It's delivered every major honour for Liverpool in his time at the club. Are we going to miss him for more than this, though? Is it beyond Liverpool that it's going to be felt, Jamie, in terms of what he's brought to the Premier League, in terms of that personality, that charisma?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be funny in your own language, let alone to come and be intelligent, funny in a foreign language. The guy is just a genius in many respects. He's added so much to the game. Like Roy says after a game, I think he calls it spot on. He's never insulted fans' intelligence. Of course, if you're not a Liverpool fan, he might have wound you up at times, but you still have the utmost respect for him because you love the way Liverpool played. There's always a high energy. They always give 100%. He treats his players extremely well, it seems. He doesn't tend to fall out with too many of them. They all want to play for them. You never hear murmurings of a player fall out. If it is, it's quashed very quickly, like Salah was.
That's why it was so rare last week, wasn't it?
But it didn't last long. He played him again, and he's although I can imagine he's a big man, he's got maybe a big ego, that's never got in the way of what's the best for the team. And you talk about great managers in the Premier League, he's certainly up there with them, even in the world. I mean, his record is as good as anybody's. And he faced a juggernaut in Manchester City. It's been incredibly difficult in that respect because they'd have won a lot more trophies. But he will leave as an absolute legend, not just in his club, but as a Premier League legend as well.
They play to win. They play to win Liverpool every week. We see a lot of managers, there's tactics and there's risks and pressure on these managers, of course. But every time you see him, he's out there to win games. He doesn't really park the bus. He's not that negative manager where he's thinking, we'll sit in. There's been times, of course, where they've had to do that when they're up against brilliant teams, whether it be Europe against Man City. But when he turns up, his mindset you can see, and that's reflected in the way the teams play, that high-risk football. Liverpool are there to win football matches.
Yeah. Danny, I think I was going to agree with what Roy's saying there, because throughout my time, at Liverpool with him, we never once went into a game thinking we couldn't win, or there was a negative mindset on the approach. It was on the front foot. It was believing in your abilities, believing in the systems the system that is set up for that game, the tactics we've done through the week. It'd make everyone be totally prepared and feel full of confidence going into football matches. And that is a huge strength of his, the personality that he's brought to the league, like you've said, the charisma, the connection with the fans, the relationship with the city, I think is unique, in a sense, especially for a man who's come from Germany to come in and connect. Personnel perspective, the team's in good shape. They've got a winning mentality, a team that's hungry to succeed. Great. I don't know if it'll be seamless.
Let's have a look at those.
How do you follow it? I mean, that's the thing, David. If you only got to look in history, you've got trying to follow Sir Alex Ferguson, trying to follow Arsene Wenger. It's been impossible, really. And even now, you look at how long it's taken for those clubs to transition and win, titles since. And it's going to be the same with Jurgen Klopp. Now, the one that I guess he would never say it publicly, but if it is Arne Slot coming in, I'm sure he thinks to himself, I'm really pleased they've not won 3 or 4 trophies this year. Obviously leaving, maybe going somewhere. Obviously had a great career here. The main one is your captain, Virgil van Dijk. What are you going to do with him? That's a really key one. He'll obviously have respect for him as a player. And Mo Salah, I think, I wouldn't be surprised if Mo Salah goes in the summer. I can see, he looked like he was going to go last year. Trent, 25 years of age. What do you think about that one, Daniel?
That's a tough one, because I think all the top clubs around Europe are going to be sniffing, and then you've got Liverpool, who I think they've got to do everything in their power to get him to sign on the dotted line, because you can't lose a man of Trent's, he's from the city. We're talking guys like Stevie G and Jamie Carragher who have represented one club, and I think that's what you kind of want for Trent, I think. And I think if they lost him, I think, of course, Mo and Verge, they're guys that, they've brought in, they've been absolutely world-class for the football club. But the local lad in Trent who's become a superstar at the football club, he's the one that you want to make sure...
You don't want to be You don't want to be letting them leave for free. That's the key. You have to make sure you get some kind of fee for players. If you speak to them and say, look, I'm not going to sign
for the group of players. But there'll be lots of changes. New manager, new staff coming in. There's obviously been changes at board level. Who's going to be making the decisions? So it's certainly a big summer coming up for Liverpool Football Club, without a doubt.
We've spoken so much about how well Liverpool's been run. I'm actually amazed that so many of those players have sort of got to...
But some players say, I'll wait till the summer and the agents, they play all these games.
Not rarely you get to reward 1 year, though, is it?
Well, but it happens. But the players are in control of that. It's not up to Liverpool. The players will decide when they're going to sit down and discuss contracts or if they're going to stay on. Players are in total control, particularly when you get to last year. They're in total control of the situation, not Liverpool, so it'll be up to the players.
A little chink of honesty there, Michael, by saying he's not full throttle. I mean,
no,
he's human at the end of the day.
Oh, Steve, the last month, when he's losing these games, he's gone out of the FA Cup, gone out of the Europa League, he's out of the chase for the title. If you had said to him 3 or 4 weeks ago, you can walk, he's only doing it now because he's got the pride, he's got the legacy. Everybody, wants to celebrate his time at Liverpool, but really, he probably checked out 1, 2, 3 weeks ago once all these trophies were going out. He's not enjoying this, playing for nothing. I mean, he's won Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues and all these big... playing for 3 points. He's saying, no, I'll maybe get like the 3rd highest record. He's not interested in that. It's pride now. He's not going through the motions, but he said that.
It's an unusual situation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a nice situation, especially when you're a winning manager like he's been. If it was all planned properly, they would be going for the league. This would be, and it would all come to a big crescendo, and win or lose or whatever, it'd be a celebration anyway. But now it's finished with a bit of a damp squib, let's be honest. He probably checked out mentally slightly, not totally, but slightly a few weeks ago when all those titles were going. And that is entirely normal. That's not a big headline. That's just normal.
Yeah, it's human instinct, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think looking back, and it's easy to look back, obviously, but to come out and say that he was going to leave hasn't worked, has it? Let's be fair. That has hurt Liverpool Football Club and him and his legacy because coming out, he felt emotionally probably to get it out. I can't do this and do the job and know that I'm going to go. I need to tell you. Maybe a couple of months later for me, so that the club still would have had time to go and get his replacement. But to come out for the length of time that they know now, it was all a bit of a surprise and a shock to everyone in football. But you can understand it. He's lost his energy. His energy needs to be recharged, as he said. And if he's feeling like that and now they're not playing for anything, then it's only human nature. He's not going to be right at it, what we call really at it. If they were still in the hunt, they're still in the hunt to win the league, my word, it'd be a different Klopp that we're seeing.
Yeah, I think it's normal. To sort of like check out. When it was announced, I was surprised, to be honest, with the timing. But it's what it is, and it can't be easy for him, like playing for nothing. At this stage, normally, like Michael said, winning European trophies and Premier Leagues, and you get to a stage now where you sort of like, but you can't wait, to be honest. I think it's no different to when you're a player and you sort of like know you're at the end of your career and you're going to retire, and you get to a stage where you sort of like. You become like reflecting on everything, and you sort of like take every day in as it comes because you know you're nearly finished. I think it's the same with him. I think you can see with his demeanour and that he's quite relaxed, where before he was quite full throttle, like he said. But yeah, it's normal.
And 2 more games, and he's looking for those sort of standards again today, isn't he?
Yeah, and when he sits back in the grand scheme of things, give it 1, or 2 final pushes to get the season over with. 6 points, finish with pride, finish on a high, and then the emotions are going to take over anyway, regardless of the result at the end. So it's going to be a big celebration, and he fully deserves it.
Commiserations. You are only the 3rd team to come here and score twice against Liverpool in the Premier League this season. So how frustrating that you got yourselves into that position to start with?
Yeah, look, it's a glass half full assessment, which I don't mind. It's not the usual I get. No, look, I thought, for the most part, we were a lot better than we have been in the last couple of games away from home. And I just think, especially in the first half, when we got into those front third areas, we just weren't anywhere near as dangerous as we could have been, which would have put some pressure on them. And the flip side of that is every time they got into the box, they looked really dangerous with the quality of players they had. So, we obviously conceded a couple of times, but I thought our football in general was decent and our general play was good. But then, obviously they've scored a couple of really good goals in the second half, and we had a mountain to climb. But we didn't give in, and scored a couple of goals, had a couple of more chances, and you know, I think for us at least that's something to hold on to.
Yeah, I mean there are positives, but that's 4 in a row defeats now. What do you need to change ahead of next week?
It's you know, it's nothing drastic. We just got to get better at who we are and, you know, get a better version of ourselves. And that's what we'll keep working at. Like I said, today was a little bit more like ourselves, unlike our last 2 away appearances. So from that perspective, that gives me something to keep pushing the guys with.
You sometimes see a bit of frustration when things are going wrong. There was an incident just before half-time. I think it was Emerson Royal and Christian Romero. Did you have to have a word with them? What was that about as they came off the pitch?
No, look, the lads are, you know, they care, you know, so they're frustrated. They want to, you know, they're not happy with the current situation and they want to address it. So just shows they care, so I don't need to address anything with them.
3 left?
Yeah, 3 to go, 3 big ones to go, 2 at home. So, yeah, we certainly want to change the current trend of results and we'll get a good chance next week.
Thanks, Ange.
The players over the last few weeks, I think today he's probably thinking, you know, he'll go easy on them. But he still must be disappointed with, again, the goals they've conceded. Yeah, a little bit of fight back at the end. But I think he'll be glad to get to the end of the season. Again, on reflection, he'll probably think, listen, it's been a decent season when you think of it. It's his first season at the club. They lost Keane. And he'll want to get players into the club over the next, as long as it depends how long he's at the club, or the next 2 transfer windows. That's what most managers do. They look at the players, they'll think he's up to it, and they'll move players around. You just hope he gets the backing, obviously, at the club, and that's always another kind of different discussion with Spurs. What kind of money they're going to spend, which players they're going to go after, and I'm sure there'll be a couple leave. I think that's just a normal progression of any club, and particularly when a manager is 1 season into the club, he'll want to make changes.
They had such a good start to life under Ange Postecoglou. It was record-breaking. Unbeaten in the first 10, he won 8 of those games. But then the last 25 have them in the bottom half of the table. I think 11th in terms of the points they've taken over that period. Did the first 10 games actually create a problem for Ange Postecoglou for the second half of the season, Daniel?
I don't know if it created a problem. I think the players took to the philosophy quite quickly, and I think over the course of the season, maybe teams are probably figuring different ways to beat them or to get results against them. I think listening to the manager's interview there, he was saying that, you know, basically some of these players are going to be part of the journey, and, you know, it took Liverpool a certain amount of time to get to the place where they won a title, and I think he's looking at that for maybe them too, and saying that, look, the team I've got now and the style of play I want to do, I need a certain type of player to fit into that. And I'm not saying that a large portion of the players he has now aren't going to be part of it, but it's clear that he's probably identified certain areas in the team that he wants to improve that can kind of help him implement his style. And I think in a transitional phase at a football club, when a new manager comes in, and there are glimmers of amazing times, which is what they've shown this season, I think that there is hope next season for them, that they can be successful, because they've shown this year they can be a very good team.
They were going down one path, Jamie. They've gone in with Postecoglou, and it feels like he's a manager they've given a lot of power to in terms of the way he wants to recruit and the style that he obviously wants to play. He said repeatedly, we need change. Change has to happen. So do Spurs almost need to embrace this now rather than question the direction of travel?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure you'll ever get they relinquish who they're going to buy. I don't think you ever get that kind of control at the top. I just don't think that happens there. But in terms of, for him, there's been real positives. There has. At the start of the year, it was excellent. And I remember they beat Aston Villa away 4-0, and I was like, wow, this side there's certainties to get in the top 4 now. The following week, they lost to Fulham 3-0, and they completely fell apart. And if you look at this period since, you know, the last few games, they've gone to Newcastle 4-0 down, Arsenal 3-0 down, today 4-0 down. That's not sustainable. That's not good enough. You know, that can't happen at this level, because you're just going to keep getting chinned. Next year, what happens with, you know, in terms of the players they want to buy? You know, Roy touched on it there, and he's right. You know, Spurs are never going to be in the market. When you look at Arsenal, when they went, they knew what they needed in the summer. Let's get a Declan Rice in. Let's really have a right go. That's what they do. Whereas I think with Spurs, that will never be the case, and it's always going to be a bit more difficult. So Ange, to a certain extent, is going to find that hard. He has to make sure, you know, because there's been certain things when he's spoken about set pieces, and he sort of said set pieces aren't really a big part of the game. Of course they are. They're the details that, you know, define matches, you know, of late. And there's been a few other things that have gone against him, you know, for a little while. But I still believe that he's obviously a good manager for the club, but he's got to make sure he starts well next year.
If we looked at the comparison of his early time, Postecoglou's first 35 games, with that of Jurgen Klopp, with Mikel Arteta, who obviously had to do a lot of work as well, he actually fares very well. In fact, better than either of them from that first 35 games. That's the wider context, Roy, of what we're talking about.
Yeah, but I suppose we're just, well, rightly or wrongly for us, we're just probably reflecting on the last 3, 4, 5 games. But yeah, when you think when he came in at the start of the season, there was big challenges for him. He was new to the Premier League. There was question marks over him of the CV, I suppose, which is very, very unfair. And he's had a pretty decent season. But it's just over the last few games where they fell away, and you start analysing Spurs, and the perception of Spurs is, again, you know, there's always a softness to him. And he's got to try and change all that. Because, again, I think come the summer, when he looks back and thinks, listen, there's some positives there, but to get to the next level, which is always a challenge for any manager, when you finish 5th or 6th, that next step, competing or getting the Champions League, is going to be the hardest step. But give the man a chance.
It's going to take...
It's heading on the right path, though. Would you agree with that right now?
No, I wouldn't. No, I think you've got to look at the last few results. The start of the season was great, without a doubt, with the ball. Again, but you're not on the right tracks if you're conceding that amount of goals. We've gone up, you know, went up to Newcastle, got trounced up there. Went to Fulham, got trounced there. Playing the same way as when they were top of the league after the first 10 games. It was all open football, putting the fullbacks in there, free-flowing football. Lovely, great. But there's times in this league, in the Premier League particularly, where you have to change and go with the system or the results, or people are injured. You have to make them slight changes. You have to have a plan B, if you like, and change things to suit the players that you've got that week, any given weekend. If not, we're going to just keep getting trounced and conceding so many goals. Today, there should have been more goals scored against them. There's no doubt about it. As I said, take away the second half. For me, as looking from my manager's point of view, I'd say, well, as I said, the game was gone. We'd lost the game in the early part of the game, and then, you know, was it character? Liverpool took the foot off the pedal a little bit second half. You know, was it character to come back? The subs come on and did better. Liverpool actually conceded space to them. Anyone can play. We could all still play with given time and space on the ball. But, you know, there's concerns there. There really are concerns. They've got to win the next 3 games. Villa hasn't got too easy fixtures, so they could still get into the Champions League. As a Spurs man, I'd love them to get into Europe. I don't think we're ready to go in the Champions League. Europa might be a better place for us to play.
Yeah, Villa, Liverpool home, Palace away. They need to win one of those, and then it's done. Spurs, Burnley home, City home, Sheffield United away.
They're not easy. Liverpool, as we've just seen...
Yeah, but Spurs just lost 4 in a row, Glenn.
Exactly. So they've got to turn the corner. And they've got to start at home to Burnley. Now, if they win that, go into the City game, there might be a little bit of momentum there. If they don't win against Burnley, forget it, obviously. But Villa's interesting. Are they going to beat Liverpool? That's always a tough game, of course, we've just seen. And Palace away at the moment, that's not a place you want to go and finish the season. Because if they're at it, they're a good side, Palace. So that's not a given that they're going to get 6 points. So Spurs have got to turn things round, and it's still in their own hands. So at the end of the day, it's a big ask with the way they're playing now, but you've got to turn it round. They've got to show some character now.
I'm interested, Jermaine, you're dipping your toe into coaching now, and all the managers you've played under, you've come across stubborn ones who won't change. And I'm not saying Ange's stubborn, but he's made it perfectly clear that's his way and that's the way we're going to play.
Yeah.
When you've come across those, does it turn at some point because they believe in what they're doing?
I think so, but at times I think it depends on the characters you've got in the change rooms also. You know, sometimes you can have sort of like a plan, and during the game, you know, you'd have whether that's the captain or a player, say, actually, we need to do this. So game management. And I do believe that the manager's principles will never change. You know, he wants to dominate the ball, whether it's home or away. He wants to be brave and defend on the halfway line. You know, he wants the goalkeeper's position to be high. You know, the number 9, he always wants the number 9, whoever plays that number 9, to always press the goalkeeper and, you know, play on the front foot. So I don't believe the manager's principles will change. But I think if you are going to play that way, you have to be... You've got to know that you know, the opposition's going to get chances. You know, the goalkeeper's made a couple of good saves, but I just don't believe that he's going to change at this stage of the season. And I think when you look at the fixtures, there's games there where you look at it and think, OK, then we can... Burnley, Sheffield United, where we can get points. Obviously, the City game's going to be hard, but at this stage of the season now, if the manager's gone to Anfield and you know, both fullbacks have played the same way, then he's not going to change now.
Where do you sit on this? Because when we covered the City-Arsenal game, Mikel Arteta completely changed his Arsenal principles with, what was it, 28% possession or something, but got a clean sheet and a point, and if they win the league, people will go back and go, what a great point. He completely changed his plan and his principles. And Jermaine's saying he doesn't see Ange Postecoglou doing that, hasn't done that today. Where are you? What about your playing career when you found managers? Obviously, the one sitting here with England had more plans than anybody. We know that. But some are more stubborn than others.
Yeah. Cool. This is a long conversation, I suppose.
It's fascinating subject, though, isn't it? Because every Spurs fan, and Glenn's saying the same, the manager needs to change. Well, but he clearly isn't going to change. So where are we going with this?
Where I am with it is that if it's a good plan, if it's a good way of playing, then I admire people that then go, bump, let's stick with it. Let's, you know, teach the players, because they'll have to feel the way. I go back to someone like Jurgen Klopp at the start of his career, and everybody... There was talk of him getting sacked, Steve, at one point. I'm sure you remember. Yeah. Everybody was having a go at them. They were going 3-0 up in games, and then they were losing 4-3 or drawing 3-3, things like this. And all of a sudden, he just decided that the way he was going to play was actually going to expose the weaknesses of the certain players. He wanted to play this certain way, so he needed brave defenders. He needed defenders with pace, because he was always going to play Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson as high-flying wide, but he wanted high-flying wide players. He wanted two players that would literally go man for man at the back, and he was going to take risks. But that risk was worthwhile. So he would go trade punch for punch, and he did it, and lots of people criticised it. But once he got an Alisson in, once he got a Van Dijk in, all of a sudden he had the players to play that system. And I like that if it's a good plan, and then you've got the players, good players, to fit that plan. I'm just not sure whether Tottenham's plan is a good, regardless of the players, is a good plan. It's a great plan against a lot of teams, because you'll probably just be too good for a lot of teams if you make it work. But if you play like that in the Champions League final, or in the Champions League against the top 4 or 5 teams in Europe, or if you play against Manchester City or Arsenal or Liverpool like today, like that, even if that's working, I'm just not sure whether that is clever enough. I'm just not sure whether that game plan is the right one.
It's not about principles anyway, guys. It's what you're doing the right... Football's about doing the right thing, or attempting to do the right thing at the right time. And at the moment, Spurs are the last thing... If you really sat them players down, the goalkeeper and the 2 centre-backs, and really said, tell me from your heart, tell me from your... Be honest with me, do you like the way we play, out from the back like that, and do you like the way we squeeze... No, not really, Gaffer. But they haven't got a chance to say that. I don't think they'd be absolutely happy playing the way they're playing. The manager wants them to play that way, that's fine. So he's going to have to live or die on his own sword. So
does that create an issue in itself, then, do you think, internally?
It could do. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of... It's not just Tottenham. I think there's a lot of clubs. I watched Wolves play yesterday against Man City. For the first 10 minutes, they're playing in the 18-yard box. They gave 4 chances to Man City. They didn't take them, funny enough. Why? You're at Man City away from home, first 10 minutes, and you're just making it easy for teams. It's almost like Vogue that we've got to play this way out from the 18-yard box.
I just don't think managers...
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I just don't think coaches now will change. I remember when Pep first come in, and then people, it was the same conversation. We're like, centre-backs, it's almost like you need 6 or 7 passes before you can go forward. And, you know, yes, Pep Guardiola, but at the same time, you know, I think now other coaches, you know, they're just like, right, these are my principles, I am not changing. I'm not changing, and a lot of time the ball gets turned over and they concede and that, and then fans are pulling their hair out thinking, right, well, you sometimes just got to kick out the pitch, but it's just not happening.
I think Pep Guardiola almost... I think, going into Europe, I think he changed it in terms of... His full-backs used to do exactly the same as... Now he leaves his full-back, and now it's sort of, right, centre-half, because they were getting counter-attacked all the time, and I don't think he believed he was going to win the Champions League. At the top level, he can beat, you know, teams week in, week out. But I think he did change from a central point of view.
He did. He got the goalkeeper in. The goalie wasn't never happy with the goalie. and then when he got Edison in, and then he got Diaz, and then suddenly he tightened up. They were too easy to play against.
Fella called Rodri's helped, hasn't he?
But just to go back to...
They've had players, that type of player they've had all the way through Pep's career at City. But he tightened the belt up a little bit at the back end of the pitch. And then when he got his defenders that he knows and his goalkeeper, like Liverpool have done, like you said, with those two players coming in, then he went, right, I'm not changing my principles, but he just had to win the... And then they go and win... What they do? They win the Champions League. The trophy that they couldn't play in the way they were. They're much tighter now as a team, a balance between with the ball and without the ball.
The only thing I would say is I'll pick up on one of your points before in terms of if you ask the goalkeeper, the centre-halves at Tottenham whether they'd like it, I wonder whether if you said to Virgil van Dijk, do you actually like... I think he would say,
not.
yeah, because I'm capable, yeah. He's so good. Yeah. But I tell you what, he'd have a 10 times better record if he had fullbacks that just sat with him. I look at some defenders, some teams, and think, do you know what, you're an average centre-half, but you've got two players sitting in front of you, you've got two fullbacks that don't go forward, you've got a brilliant keeper, you sit on the edge of your box. I mean, with all due respect, anyone can play in that team. Whereas Virgil van Dijk in this Liverpool team, it's the hardest job in the world. He plays one-on-one, but he's so good. Yeah. So if you ask Virgil van Dijk, I think he'd say, do you know what, sometimes you prefer some help. I'm actually better than my record suggests.
Exactly, but you play, like a strikers, you play in pairs. I'm not so sure maybe his other centre-back would be happy with that. You've got to have both in link. You can't just have one player at the back, a centre-back in his own 6-yard box, giving it to a goalie. The goalie's got to be on board. He's got to be good enough. Then the other side, the centre-back's got to be happy to receive them balls. The midfield player's got to be happy to go back into his own penalty area and receive the ball under pressure and play out from there. All them things have got... All them chains have got to be put in. The links have all got to be put in for the chain to work. And I don't think it's working at the moment. So if something's not working... If you've got, as I said earlier in the week, if you've got a bad back and your back's bad and it's getting worse, you go and see a chiropractor. You do something about it. Yeah. You don't just keep doing it and say, oh, I'll suffer, because Spurs are suffering at the moment. Fascinating discussion, which we will continue in a moment after we've got the thoughts of the Spurs manager. Here he is, Ange Postecoglou.
Another painful one, although your team did do you the credit of continuing to fight. What did you make of it over the piece?
Yeah, I mean... It is disappointing, obviously, but, you know, compared to our last two away performances in Newcastle and Chelsea, I at least saw us trying to be ourselves, and I think that's something for us to hold on to in terms of the way we play, the way we kind of pressed. It was much more like us, and, you know, that's why I was so disappointed midweek and at Newcastle where we weren't us. But ultimately, we came up short today.
So that conviction you asked for from your players, I think you mentioned pressing there, bravery on the ball. Did it feel like a step forward in those, you know, like those key principles that you like to see?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about a step forward, but we didn't take a step backwards, that's for sure. And look, I thought in the first half some of our football was outstanding, but we got to the front third and nothing came of it. And when that happens, I think the opposition get comfortable and. You know, if we had to just put a little bit of sort of pressure in creating opportunities with our good play, then might have set Liverpool back a bit. And the flip side of that is when they got into our box, I mean, they got some fantastic players, obviously, that hurt us. And, you know, obviously when you're chasing the game, it makes it difficult. But I thought last half hour, our football continued to be good, but then we had much more conviction in the front third about the way we wanted to play.
Yeah, I was literally just going to ask, what changed in that last half hour, 20 minutes? Obviously, you made some changes, so that's part of it.
Yeah, a little bit of that. I mean, we always finish strong anyway when we're playing our football, and again, that's the disappointing thing. Say with the Chelsea game, there was no evidence of that, or in Newcastle, whether it was the Arsenal game or here, we always finish strong. So that's part of it. The changes, I think. The guys coming on, the guys who started the game I thought did well, helped us with some creativity and Richie's presence up front. So, as I said, we've lost. It's disappointing, but at least I've got something to work with.
Bit of a set two at half-time, but I don't know if you saw it, but between a couple of your players, Romero and Emerson, it might even be one of those things you'd like to see, players, sharing accountability, digging each other out. Good thing, bad thing for you?
They care, mate. They care. If you care about something, that's. I'd hate to think that they were, skipping into the tunnel holding hands. They care, and you know, when they care, that's a good thing.
Obviously, I've interviewed you after the last couple of defeats, and it feels like maybe a slightly different you now, less harsh. Maybe is it time now for a bit more of an arm around the shoulder? Do you think?
To you mean? Or?
No, well, I could do with one sometimes, but no. To your players, do you feel a bit differently towards them?
No. Look, all I keep saying is the same thing. We're trying to be a certain kind of football team, trying to play our football a certain way. If we do that and in our endeavour fall short, I'll wear that and I'll help the guys improve. But you know, Wednesday night wasn't the case, or whenever we played Chelsea Thursday night, wasn't the case. So it's not about giving them a cuddle or giving them a talking to. It's about we're trying to be a certain kind of football team, and we shouldn't veer away from that, irrespective of kind of, you know, the sometimes, you know, want to go that way.
Can Liverpool? I mean, we saw, you know, the reception the Liverpool fans are giving Jurgen Klopp today. Are they actually a really good model for you? The patience they've shown, the belief they've shown. I know that's a key word for you.
Yeah, look, I think there is a process there that, you know, when you look at the teams at the top that they've gone through, but they've got to find the right man for that, and jury's out whether that's me, mate.
How much change is needed? It was really striking to hear you say on Friday, not everyone's going to be able to come on this journey, not every player. So how many of them out there today can come with you on this?
I don't know, and it's not about sort of, you know, I'm not trying to get people out, but if you look at, you know, whether that's Liverpool, you know, at the start of their journey, by the time they won it, how much the team has changed, it's only natural. I mean, Arsenal are in a similar boat now, so it's inevitable because you're going in a new direction, but that doesn't mean that guys here aren't going to be part of that journey. It's just as we keep developing, as we keep improving, I'm sure there'll be, you know, others that come to the fore.
I know you're sort of joking there, saying the jury's out, but if some Spurs fans are wavering and just wondering, are we going in the right direction, what would you say?
Well, you know, they're allowed to feel that way, but, you know, this is the direction we're going as long as I'm here.
And with or without Champions League football, you fully believe you can keep taking it forward?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks. Cheers.
Well, he went over to the Tottenham fans who he was talking about there at the end, who've made the journey north. But if you ever needed any affirmation that he isn't going to change his ways, that is it, Glenn.
No, that's right. He's not going to change. And in some ways, I respect that. We've been in football long enough to think that, looking from the outside in, listen, I'm not inside, but they're my club. Things have got to change defensively. It's as simple as that, really, for us to be successful. But there's a but here. Last year, the end of last year, it was pretty toxic at Tottenham. I've said this before, the way they were playing. If at the beginning of the season someone had said, you'll be fifth in the league going into Europa, and still with 3 games to go, you can still get in the Champions League, by the way, people would have gone, we'll settle for that. We'll have that. And it's just that they've hit the buffers at the wrong time. They've really had some bad results, 4 back-to-backs, conceding goals, and it's come at the wrong time for them, and it could hurt them.
It's 2 wins in 12, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not a good record at the moment, and something has to change. Normally, if that pattern is a pattern that's repetitive, you've got to change it. Somehow you've got to change it. But if he doesn't want to do that, they'd settle for that. Spurs fans and the owners, everyone would have settled for that at the beginning of the season. We'll be 5th in the league and in Europa. We'll take that.
What if that change is players that are really capable of playing that position? Do you think it's the players? Obviously, we dug out, you know, Emerson Royale today because he simply can't play that position that well. So, of course, one chain in the link, you mentioned that every chain's got to be right. One chain in the link, then it breaks down. What about, is it absolutely the way they play, the system that's flawed, or do you think it's, you know, if they got the right players in, like Liverpool did all those years ago, can that system then work? Well, he might then be right, mightn't he, to be going down that path?
They need to bolster up the squad, in a sense. And Doggy plays that role and that position perfectly.
Well, what Michael's saying is, has he got enough players at the moment to play the way he wants to play?
Like when he gets injuries in terms of like the squad?
With the squad he hasn't, no. He knows that. That's where you have to adapt. You have to change it a little bit. But at the beginning of the season, when we were playing out from the back, I can't remember who we played in the first 10 games when we were top of the league. I don't think we had any of the top teams then, but to be honest. I looked at the fixtures and thought, well, you could get off to a good start here. But at the end of the day, well, it's not about that, Michael. It's about this scenario that we're finding ourselves in, Tottenham. Do you keep doing the same things that are not working? and you go to Stamford Bridge and I see the first minute of the game, they give 2 throw-ins away, trying to play into the corner flag from the goalie to the full-back. It goes out for a throw and you're on the back foot. We've just seen what they do at Anfield. Yeah. You've got, by the latter part of the game, you might be able to play out with these players because the game might be opened up, you might be winning in numerous ways, but not to set out and say, this is the way we're going to play, whatever the results, whoever we're playing, in whatever circumstances.
But I would argue that Liverpool did that at the start. Liverpool did that, and I feel that that ended up being a positive. It absolutely weeded out the players that you could just see, do you know what, this is the way we're playing, and you're simply not good enough. We're going to have to get someone else in. And they went and got Van Dijk. They went and got those players. And I don't know whether it just exposes it, and now he'll be looking at it, and they referred to it there. This summer he'll think, right, Emerson Royal, you're just not good enough to do this, what we're trying to do. We're going to get a new one. And that's the way.
Talking of Liverpool, we must move on because, and I'm sure we'll come back to this many, many times with Tottenham. It's a fascinating subject. But Jurgen Klopp